drive into the morning sun, we are unaware that the road we are taking, only labeled Southwest 328th Street on Google Maps, has actually been renamed since 2015. This straight road runs east for about 14 kilometers from downtown Homestead straight to the entrance of Biscayne National Park. It now takes the name of a very, very important man. Without the action of him and his family, this coast we are headed to and the offshore keys that make up this special park might be another luxury destination for the rich. That name is Jones and comes from Israel Jones, a man who was born enslaved in the United States. He and his Bahamian wife Moselle named their sons Sir Lancelot and King Arthur Jones, and these brothers would be instrumental in stopping plans for development by not selling off their land even when outrageous sums were offered. The commitment, especially of Lancelot, to preserve these last undeveloped keys further inspired some members of Congress to declare the Biscayne Bay a national monument, which would later be turned into the national park it is today. There are many national parks in the United States that allow travelers to experience wonderful landscapes from the comfort of their own vehicle. Loop roads and constant viewpoints are standard in a majority of those in the continental USA. Biscayne National Park is not one of these. You can drive your car to the visitor center and read all of their interpretive signs and displays, but without signing up for some of their excursions, you will not get a good introduction to the park with your own senses. Nina and I have chosen paddleboarding in the Jones Lagoon as our first excursion, which requires a 20-minute ride out across Biscayne Bay to the Keys. This is the same strand of ancient coral islands from the last video, which extends all the way out to Key West and beyond, but is protected north of Key Largo here in the park. For the majority of his life, when Lancelot took this trip in the opposite direction and crossed the water to go into Miami, he would be forced to sit in the back of any bus he boarded and drink from separate water fountains. But here in the Keys he owned, he lived a life that matched his knightly name. When his family's key lime business was hurt by hurricanes and prohibition, he and his brother gave fishing tours to wealthy customers at a nearby club which was briefly open on Adams Key. Eventually, he even guided 2 U.S. presidents who wanted to be shown around the area. Even with all this exposure to extreme wealth and power, it was always nature that meant the most to Lancelot, and those that today can visit and enjoy the park owe so much to his and his family's lives. On our way through the mangroves, we passed the former home of the Joneses. Part of the deal of this land sale was that Lancelot could continue living at his home on Porgy Key, which he did for a total of 94 years.
It has a zoo.
After the land was turned into a public park, he enjoyed teaching visiting school children about ecologies of the Keys he loved so much. Only the Category 5 Hurricane Andrew got him to leave in 1992. Thankfully, rangers were able to convince him to evacuate as the hurricane destroyed everything in its path, including every structure on Porgy Key. If, by some chance, you have made it this far and endured the history lesson I forced on you, I appreciate you sticking with it. We had no knowledge of the Jones family before our visit, and are so fascinated by their story. I never want to forget it. Like Lancelot, our excursion guide enjoys telling us about the histories of the people and ecologies of these keys as we make our way through beautiful mangroves. The water is so clear and calm in most places, so we can see all the plant and animal life beneath the surface. The excursion is limited to 6 people and feels very intimate, although the guide does not seem like a patient person and gets pretty far ahead of us as we get used to our paddles and enjoy the scenery. Around this time, the guide leads us into a large, wide-open lagoon, and the winds are just too much. Nina and I rescue ourselves and hide in a protected mangrove. So, what do you think about the kayaking the mangroves tour?
The mangrove is cute. They didn't tell us that is the opening and the wind is gonna pick up, and they said it's gonna be like 5 minutes. Holy shit.
Eventually, we make our way back to the boat and back across the bay, first passing by the Joneses' Porgy Key one last time. The sheer magic of this park lifts our spirits. Back on the dock, we have enough time to eat some Cuban food we brought with us, put on some more sunscreen, and join our second excursion. This is basically just a ferry rather than a tour, as they take us to a few points and let us off to do our own thing. When the engine is not on high, our guide gives some historical context as well, only briefly mentioning Israel and Lancelot Jones, unfortunately. But this helps strengthen my desire to learn more after we leave. Our first stop is the iconic lighthouse on Boca Chita Key, whose image can be found on most of the park's posters and advertising. This key is filled with palm trees and surrounded by crystal clear blue waters. It is not hard to imagine why folks from Miami chose to get away here. Another place to feel gratitude towards Sir Lancelot Jones and his family. In 1968, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the bill making the Biscayne Bay a national monument, a man who Lancelot had taken out fishing in these waters many times. In 1970, he became the first private landowner to sell to the U.S. government, of course at a fraction of the cost he had been offered by oil companies and land developers. After the area had been turned into protected land, this decision was easy for Lancelot, as he knew it could be used and enjoyed by all people, rather than exploited by a wealthy few. Later, like magic, on Elliott Key just before our tour was over, a manatee graces us with its quiet presence. Coming up for air at the marina, it shows the scar of a propeller blade. If these waters had not been protected, their population surely would have been killed off long ago.